2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. Triple B and E in the house. Me and all my friends, we're all misunderstood. They say we're heading for a heart attack, and there's no way this is good. We see everything that's going wrong with the world and those who feed it. So we grease our favorite frying pan to rise above and beat it. So we keep making beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. We keep on making beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Omelets in the morning, ribeyes later on. We keep on making beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Now, if we had the power to change our neighbors overnight, they'd be burning fat like we do, living that ketogenic life. 'Cause when you eat to satiation, the proper human diet made by God, there's no more inflammation. Oh, you can live the way you want if you keep making beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. We keep on making beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. Fasting in the morning, carnivore at 4. We keep on.
Hey, fatty! No, no.
We are live. It is Sunday. It is Mother's Day in Canada anyway. And this is the Meat of the Matter podcast where we meet you matter. That is Mark. He is Peter. I am Tony. And we have some stuff to talk about today because this craziness that's running rampant through the internet, all over the place, this sugar fasting, sugar diet, what we feel about it, how we think. We're going to get into the weeds. When we put together this podcast, we go live every Sunday, and we said we're not going to hold, nothing's off the table. We're not going to talk. We're going to hold no punches are going to be held today. We do appreciate the comments, concerns, and we'd love to have your feedback every step of the way because this is very controversial. I believe, in my opinion, we'll get into that a little bit later, but very dangerous, possibly very, very harmful to some people. And we're just going to get right into it today, boys. First of all, how are we doing?
Great.
Are we ready?
All good. All good.
So just to preempt everybody, we're gonna hear this for a little bit. Because we're gonna react to this video. I know everybody online has something to say about it. I know it's kind of, it's absolutely viral, and we're gonna get into the details. So please remember, we appreciate the likes, subscribes, the comments. Questions are going to be very, very important today. All the people that are listening that are maybe really, really confused about this, and we'll get into it. We'll just play it and let it rip, and then we'll get into the show.
Hey, fatty! No, you fat pigs! 164.0 pounds! I've lost 24 pounds eating a shitload of sugar in the absence of fat and protein. Sugar fasting, you fat pigs. I haven't eaten any protein or fat for the last 4 days. Straight sugar. Straight sugar. My metabolism is insane. Insane. Okay, I can literally keep losing weight at over 3,000 calories a day on sugar. Sugar! Okay, once your metabolism gets unfucked, okay, you're going to be able to lose weight like crazy. You fat pigs need to bust your scared, sugar-phobic, muscle-loss-phobic asses through a 72-hour sugar fast minimum. Minimum! The super fat pigs go 100 days on pure sugar. Fruit, juice, table sugar, strawberry jam. Okay, sugar. No starch. Okay, you can piss with starch once you're ripped. Sugar! You don't need to eat protein every day, you fat ass pigs. You don't need to eat meat every day, you fat pigs. Once you get over that fear, you will...
Okay, that's about enough of that. All right, so clearly he's done it. Clearly it's worked for him. Now, we'll start. Mark, what do you want to say?
What I want to say is, I just think he's sending out the wrong message. Plain and simple. I think the message that he's sending out is wrong. I think it's gonna lead to an awful lot of people suffering. I don't think he gives a shit. It's gonna have a lot of people are gonna suffer with type 2 diabetes if we go down this route. It may be okay for you if you're metabolically healthy, but for a lot of people, they're not metabolically healthy. And this is absolute bull. This is absolutely crazy advice. And it really infuriates me that we have influencers on social media that are talking about this diet and thinking that and experimenting it after coming off the carnivore diet. That makes it even worse. Mark Bell to come to mind. I have a big problem with Mark Bell on this. Now, the problem I have is this. Mark Bell is a great fitness person. He's one of the biggest guys in the world. What he says, people are actually going to listen to. Now, this is the problem. I'm very, very worried that he's got a massive, massive platform and he's telling people that he's going to try this as an experiment when he's been saying for the last couple of months how bad sugar is. So which side of the coin are you on, Mark? Are you on no sugar or are you on a sugar diet? That's what I want to know.
Well, I mean, I'll just chime in before we get to you, Peter. Health or not health? That's what I have to say. Like, nutrition or no nutrition, whether it's a tool or not. Are you trying to achieve, what are you trying to achieve here? Because if you're promoting health, I would strongly disagree with this message. If you're using it as a tool in a high performance setting, athletic thing, teaching people that are obese that eating a bunch of sugar it's ridiculous. Like, that's all I'll say. But Peter, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Mark made a good point. And that is that a lot of people nowadays equate health with weight loss and being ripped and building muscles. And the message that you should instead be sending out is that there is a lot more to health, and eating a bunch of sugar, of course, makes no sense. If I would do it just for one day, it would be utter disaster. And I have sort of tried an experiment about 1 or 2 months ago where I started to reintroduce bananas, and that was to look at cholesterol and the effect on that. But what happened? I got immediate insulin resistance, and your body starts to work on two fuel sources, and that is the worst situation that you can end up. So that's maybe even worse than a sugar diet. But anyway, if you are low carb if you're low carb and you're not eating a lot of sugar and you suddenly introduce a lot of sugar on top of that, I imagine this guy is probably still sort of fat adapted. If he really promoted low carb diet, he is still his metabolism is primarily fat based, and now he starts to introduce a huge load of sugar, and that's of course very bad. Aside all the general things that you can say about sugar, of course, that it glycates in your blood vessels basically everywhere in your body, and so you're promoting type 2 diabetes, and what Mark said, it's for if you are physically very active, if your expenditure is like 3,000 calories a day, and you do this sugar fast and say that you eat 1,000 or 1,500 calories of sugar, you might get away with it for a few days, I'd say, because I hope at least that Mark Bell, after such a fast, returns to a sort of healthy diet.
To be honest with you, Peter, I think that's kind of what his, if you take this out of context, it's disastrous. But, when one thing I want to say, coming from a health coaching space, trying to help people fix their metabolic health, this is absolutely disastrous on so many levels, because you have the addiction side, you have the physiological dependence side, you have the bringing no nutrition to the fact, and excess energy is the problem. We're storing potential energy, and there is so many things to chip away at this, because yes, protein and energy, carbohydrates, hydrocarbons, fat, carbs, but sugar is its own insidious thing. And I think we just have to look at the modern day food food practices, we're putting sugar in everything. So when you're coming from, for myself being a pre-diabetic, I had a sugar problem. That's the beautiful nuance about this is, when would you be able to start this? Because Cole Robinson has been low carb, carnivore, and I know he just went on like the video dogs, Sean Baker and like Ken Berry, and I don't agree with that, because you know what? When people are healing crazy autoimmunity and really big conditions with these natural food, proper human diet protocols, this is way out in left field. That if you wanted to play around with this, you better know what you're doing. And the message, and I agree with you, Mark, it's just very dangerous, because how many people are going to just jump onto this and say, he says it's okay to eat sugar and only sugar and no protein.
And see, that's the problem I have because of influencers like Mark Bell. He's got such a massive, massive following. He's huge. He's got a massive, massive following. He should be doing better. He should be doing a lot. This is why I'm very, very disappointed. I'm very, very disappointed in this, because of the following that he has. And I think, like what we always say on our shows, guys, we need to move away from weight loss and start focusing on health. Like what Tony said, we need to start focusing on health. We know we can eat any food we want. We can eat sugar 7 days a week. We can eat McDonald's 7 days a week. We can drink alcohol 7 days a week, and we can still get in amazing shape. But guys, it's not healthy. That's the problem. It's not healthy. And that's what, and so many people, sorry, Tony, many people are going to suffer. So many people are going to suffer if they take this advice. And that's what I'm worried about.
And I agree, Mark, because like, how many people don't realize they're addicted to sugar? We're just getting the awareness out there. Like, people are just starting to figure out that this is, like we just did I would ask everybody to go to our interview with Nicole Massey. It's one of Mark's clients, 6 weeks. Her wisdom in the knowing that she's addicted to sugar. Where does this fall? Imagine you're doing all this work. Imagine you're coming to grips with this. Then you hear these people, and not the full context, not the full thing, saying it's okay to eat sugar. Now, I heard something that Mark Bell was saying what he was eating. Now, there's two sides of me. It's yes, sucrose, okay, but he's talking about eating Sour Patch Kids and junk food, and it's like, okay, now we're delving into dangerous territory here, because we're trying to process food. It doesn't matter what the processed food is made of. It's designed to get you addicted and to eat more of it. So what happens to that person in this context that has done such great work? They've gotten they've got their nutrition and their macro ratios in line. They're getting somewhat metabolically flexible. They go on the sugar diet, but they're not ready. All of a sudden, their metabolic switch goes back to their default programming, and now you're in trouble again. Your addiction is running full run. I had an episode with bacon, and I ate 2 pounds of bacon, and it was maple bacon with sugar. And this was 2 years into my carnivore journey. I went right to Save on Foods, and I went right to the ice cream and candy. I was going crazy. So what would happen if I did that? Like, that's what, at first I was like, well, maybe I'll try it. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. My sugar addiction, although I'm controlling it now, am I healed? What would happen if I did this and I couldn't stop? Then I put all 6 years of my work to nourish and heal my body is now gone to shit. And I'm back, binging at 7-Eleven. Those are the possibilities. And that's what scares me about this. Is the message.
100%. Yeah. It's the message, guys. That's the main thing. The message is the problem I have. The message is when we're constantly hearing that, okay, listen, like, why is this getting so much attraction on social media? Why can't us as a three do better than this shit? Because what we're doing on a week-to-week basis, we're actually helping people. This shit is going to confuse people. This is going to, like, so many people are going to see this because of people like Mark Bell that has a huge following. We don't have a huge following.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about that these big, massive influencers that are promoting this shit it's just going to blow up. It's just going to blow up.
And I know, like with your coaching business, Mark, and the clients and the people that you're helping, we promote essential nutrients. It's not even the carnivore diet. We're just looking at, you need to nourish your body with nutrition.
Especially if you're fasting as well,
Yeah.
because I mean, you can invent 100 types of fasting. I mean, there's also the butter fast. I don't like that either. So also among the carnivore community, there are mistakes being made.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of fasting is, well, either you don't eat or you do a sort of fasting mimicking diet. And I've done one recently, but yeah, try to find foods that include a lot of nutrients. Low in sugar, because that's the primary idea of a fast, that you lower insulin and that sort of things, and that is actually healthy.
Well, you know what, Peter, and here's the thing, guys, and I want, like, this is something for all the people that are just starting this thing, starting to question it, and I understand it's enticing. It's, ooh, like this may be the new thing. Okay, everybody on in the world has a problem with the carnivore diet being sustainable. Okay, our results that all three of us have achieved have been a steady progression towards feeling great, feeling amazing. Our body fat percentages are all under control. It's not about, Mark's done a bodybuilding contest and he used this modality to get his results. We are now getting bombarded with this sugar diet. How do you know that this weight loss is permanent? Because you're adding a cheat code into a system and the body's reacting in shock, because that's essentially what it is. How do you know this is forever? Because I will tell you, from what I've been doing, my body fat percentage has been slowly going down into a natural way, sustainable, long-term. And he actually, if you go deeper into that video, he starts talking about just go eat McDonald's, go eat shit, gain weight, and then take it off again. Well, isn't
we
that...
We did it for years. Every one of us did it for years. I mean, so, I've been in this business now for over 35 years. I got in shape, but I put the weight back on. I got in shape, I put the weight back on. I could never understand why I couldn't keep it off. Could never understand. And I said this before, this is the reason why I decided that I will never do a bodybuilding competition, because I could not get down to that level of body fat, been starving, because that's what these diets are. They're a level of restriction.
Yeah.
But then when I went and did a carnivore when I went and did a bodybuilding competition and just did carnivore and kept my fats really, really high, my hormones were perfect.
Yeah.
I was able to work every single day. I felt great. I felt absolutely fantastic. And then after the show, I was completely fine. Yeah. All the bodybuilders that competed that day, they were like zombies.
Yeah.
And when the show finished, in the back room, they had full of shit. Donuts, biscuits, crisps, you name it. Just all shit. These people were like wolves around the carcass.
Yeah.
They just could not stop eating. They were eating like nonstop. And I was completely fine. I wasn't even hungry. Completely fine. Because my fat reserves were looking after me.
Yeah.
So the amount of fat that I was eating, that's what I was relying on.
Yeah.
Whereas these people had nothing left. They were running off glucose. They were running off sugar, and all that sugar was gone, and they didn't know where to go.
And also, if you think about it this way too, like, okay, what happens when your body fat percent is so ridiculously low? What happens? You're cannibalizing yourself. Like, going into rabbit starvation is not good. You can do that. Just eat high protein. You're going to starve. Your body will starve. They know this. So putting these, like, and that's the thing where, and I do understand Cole Robinson has his own shtick, his own personality online. And I mean, I don't think this is not revolutionary thinking. Like, it's leveraging metabolism and leveraging energy, but what are the downsides to elevated blood sugar levels? Not like there's no, yeah, okay, sure, your energy's through the roof. No shit, you're on a sugar high, a Mount Everest sugar high. But when that's in your blood for long enough, so what are you going to tell people to do this every week, 3 days a week? You do a sugar fast, your blood sugar levels are through the roof. After 4 grams in your bloodstream, you are doing damage. So all of that stuff, regardless if you're stripping body fat, you're not bringing any nutrition, and it's dangerous. Right?
I'm missing a lot of information as well. I mean, what happened to his blood glucose, his insulin levels? Yeah. If he does this a lot, his A1C, his inflammation markers, all that stuff. And yeah, you shouldn't trust anybody if they are not showing at least those things. And of course, there is a lot more than just blood markers to a diet or an intervention being healthy. But that sort of things, what happens to his gut, because a lot of sugar doesn't do very good for his gut microbiome. What else? Well, I can probably name another 10 things that I'm curious about. And well, I haven't seen all of his videos, so I could give him the benefit of the doubt that he's telling these things. But if you're talking about such a radical, different approach, then yeah, go into detail.
To be perfectly clear, I think they are catering to the gym bros, which is fine. They cater to the gym bros, but the spillover, the crossover that's going to happen to the metabolically stick, to the people who have metabolic issues, that's the problem where this becomes like, you have to separate this. Like this is not, I would say it's 100% not healthy. You know, does it work? Obviously. Is it good for you? I would argue very much no, but is it a possibility? Is it a tool that but what is, at what expense are you looking at? You look at these guys or people, anybody who goes to the gym and they do a bunch of performance enhancement things. They're sacrificing their health for that, whether it's vanity, whether it's to one up somebody, whether it's to get strong, whatever it is. Why are you doing it? You know, and so somebody who's trying to be whole body, holistically healthy, healed, this is not the way to go. And I mean, I'm not a doctor, we're not scientists, but if you can't separate, like, you know, use your discernment, and you're getting like instantly hear this and you go, oh yeah, that's for me, you are programmed, and that could be very, very dangerous.
This is a big problem. I mean, I see it in the comments that people they put comments like, well, show yourself that you can do this exercise, or show your muscles, or that sort of things, or you look unhealthy, that sort of things. And then what they mean is, of course, that you don't have this physique of the typical gym bro. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just going to say what Tony mentioned about performance enhancing drugs. Like I have another big issue with this, right? I have a huge issue with this. Like, we know Mark Bell takes performance enhancing drugs. Yeah. I know 2 carnivores that I'm friends with on Instagram that are taking TRT. I know a few bodybuilders that are on performance enhancing drugs, and they promote this shit every single day. They promote that they can eat this shit every single day. This is what you need to do. This is the way I live my life. Okay, that's the way you live your life. Yeah. But you are bullshitting the crowd. You are bullshitting the crowd, because you're only in that shape because you're taking these drugs. And it's so wrong. It really is. There's a guy, I won't mention his name, but he's a very, very good friend of mine. And he's on TRT at the moment. And he looks incredible. Like, I wouldn't say a bad word about him, because he doesn't, because he lives the carnivore lifestyle, but he looks amazing. But the only issue I have is what he said. He eats carbohydrates in moderation. Like, he has them probably once every week. And he says this is a great way of maintaining weight loss. Now, the problem I have is what he's taking. That's where I have the problem, because he has the 6-pack. He looks amazing. But he's still lying to the audience, because he's convincing the audience that this is the way it should be done. Whereas we're saying, like, well, hang on a second. None of us are on drugs. None of us. Yeah. We're not taking any enhancements or TRT. Me and Tony are in our 50s. We should be on TRT. Yeah. I don't need it.
No.
I don't need it. Why do I need it? No. I'm fine. Like my energy's fine. I'm getting stronger. I'm walking around with a six pack. Like, why do I need it?
And
So if I don't need it, then why are we getting these men who have low testosterone when they get older, putting them on these drugs when we can actually fix the problem to dry it? And
well,
how we're gonna fit? And sorry, just one more, Tony.
yeah,
Just one more, Tony. And how we're gonna fix it? It's the same with women. If we want women off HRT and we want to improve their progesterone and their estrogen, well, then we need to get rid of the problem. And the problem is sugar.
yeah.
So how can we fix the problem if we're telling these people, okay, it's all right to eat sugar in moderation, or we should follow this guy? It's
And
crazy. It's crazy.
and I just want to switch gears on this a little bit because I want to look back to nature. Whenever, maybe for a couple weeks where I'm at in the on the latitude that I'm at, I would get sugar from trees. When would we get table sugar? You'd have to chew on sugarcane for days because even the sugarcane that's high fiber, because you can't eat it because it's wood, you would be sucking on that thing for like a week straight. Your body would naturally say stop. Like it just doesn't happen. You go ahead, go eat 16 apples. Good luck. Your body won't let it happen. Eat 5 oranges. Try. I guarantee you. You know, you're going to get maybe 1 or 2 in, and then it's going to be like, nah, I can't do it anymore.
The closest thing to sugar is probably honey, and I'm not an expert, but I imagine that you would only harvest honey in a big group in the past, and if you harvest it, you would feast on it in a big group, and you would eat a little bit, but also not so much.
Yeah. Well, you'd feast on it until it was done, and then your body's going, I don't want it anymore, right? Like, so that's true. Like one day. You know, and then but it's so crazy how we like, and that's a thing that like I'm a big proponent in God and Mother Nature intended. I mean, if we take away all this stuff, it's not natural. So if you're trying to achieve things that are unnaturally, like a bodybuilder's physique with drugs, okay, well, you know, what are you intending to do? But the people that are just trying to heal, the people that I want to help are, you know, to fix their metabolic, a new client of mine, Sadhna, she's a type 1 diabetic or type 2 diabetic. Her dad passed away with type 2 diabetes complications. She's worried about her son getting type 2 diabetes. We are starting the process now of getting her aware and healing. She hears something like this and thinks it's okay to eat sugar. Well, you know what? This is the problem, right? It's just so not true. And there's been no disclaimers, none. If you're, you know, do this. If you're type 2 diabetic, don't listen to a word I'm saying. If you are doing this, don't listen to a word. But there's not. And it makes it sound like, and that's the thing I have a problem with. It makes it sound like everybody should be doing this. Like, you stupid carnivores, you stupid low carb people. You're eating fat and you're dumb and you're fat. It's like that doesn't make sense to me because we don't talk about essential nutrients.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, it's so wrong. He should be shut down, in my opinion. It's just crazy. The channel should be shut down immediately.
Well, you know, and that's kind of where we get into the little bit of the problem. Like, you know, I do believe in free speech. I believe everybody should have their say, but you know, it's kind of like people saying carnivores should go to jail. Right? Like that Joel Furman guy's like thinks all of us should be locked up because we're saying stuff. I don't pretend to preach and tell everybody that they need to be doing this because I think everything else they do is wrong. I think you should be use your discernment and know like that you cannot. And I agree, like Mark, in my heart, like this, I don't think this should be preached. But what are we going after here? Like I don't understand that crossover. Is it health or is it performance or is it vanity? And it's vanity.
See, if you want to do this, I have no problem if you want to do this on your own terms. No problem. Yeah. But the problem is you're telling the world, you're telling a big audience. And that's where people are going to get confused because people are going to be watching. A lot of people that are doing carnivore, like the likes of Sean Baker, Ken Berry, that have been an advocate of this for years, that has been explaining to people why things are happening. You only need to look in. You only need to look at what happened yesterday in America. They
Oh,
what's her name?
we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that, Mark. Don't worry about it. That's coming up.
Amazing story. Amazing.
So we have a question here. Do you think even talking about this dude and giving him the spotlight about what he's saying, or should it be ignored and snuff out the flame? You know what? To be honest with you, there's obviously two sides to that, but I think the people and the new carnivores, the carnivore curious, the people that are trying to resolve their metabolic health, to try and get healthier, need to be warned, because when even from a coach's perspective, most of the time my job is to guide people through the noise so that they can make the decisions themselves. But sometimes it's so enticing and so seductive, because what we do is we cling on to false hope. There is no quick way to heal. You have to go through the work. You have to understand certain things. You cannot just, that's why there's Ozempic, right? And this guy is like the Ozempic of the social media community right now. It's like, this is the way to do it. You can do this, be good. And it's all this seduction and really laziness, because your body's going to go through chaos doing this. That's my opinion. Anyway, I don't know what you guys feel about that, but
yeah, just the same.
No, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. I could completely agree with you.
And I think actually bringing attention to this, to be objective and to actually look at it from like, we're not saying it doesn't work. We're not saying don't do it. We're saying be very, very careful. And I would err on the side of, metabolic health is achieved through essential nutrients and the right lifestyle, not by overloading on the candy aisle. That's, and you can see people are going to take table sugar to a whole other aspect. And he even mentioned, which blows my mind, high fructose corn syrup is like he says it's amazing for this. And it's like, okay, sure. But what about your liver? Because we all know your liver metabolizes fructose. There is no benefit to it. So if you're just wanting a sugar high, which pretty much it is, go ahead, tax your liver. I want to see how your liver enzymes are in about a year about doing this cycling. Your liver is going to be just destroyed.
Just a side path there, but think about the fact that professional cyclists are doing this on a daily basis, basically, because they eat like 90 to 120 grams of carbohydrates each hour. And I'm not saying that it doesn't work, because if you want to do Tour de France type of efforts, then I could very well imagine that it might actually be even better than a medium or low carb approach, because it's just insane level of exercise. You're cycling in zone 3, 4, or 5 for hours, an entire day through the mountains at the highest level possible. And those last few percentages, of course, you'll gain more results in those last few percentages if you start to fuel on both fats and carbs. Because you have, for example, Chris Froome, he actually trains on fat adapting and keto adapting on the more flat rides, the more endurance rides. But then, of course, on those extreme episodes in the etappes on the Tour de France, he also just is carb loading. And of course you have to do it to get along with the rest. But it's just not a natural situation. And people somehow equate top athletes, elite athletes with health. And that just bothers me a lot. And there's way more to it. And actually, those athletes are unhealthy. And typically, when they stop with exercising, of course, not all of them have the risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
But how can someone like me, who's 50 now, how can I go into the gym and run circles around these 20-year-olds in the gym? Like, I'm going into the gym and I'm lifting just as heavyweight. I'm moving just as quick as these teenagers. Surely, if I was, and you look at a lot of 50-year-olds that are in my gym, I can tell you right now, they don't move anywhere near as close as the way I move.
Well,
Nowhere near it.
Well, you know, Mark, I
Like
think
the way I train in the gym is incredible.
Well, I mean, I hear you too, because like I can go do a moving job with my friends, and I just laugh at them like it's ridiculous. They're eating bread all day, but just in the gym, and what you're saying, Peter, and what Rick just said, somehow I can cycle with that. I train heavy lifting without carbohydrates too. Would they benefit me? I don't care. I don't need it. I know what they bring to the table, and that's my choice. But I'm not saying anybody that does carb cycling or carb loading, whatever, if it's working for you for what you want to accomplish, fine. I know they don't bring any nutrients to the table. So if I don't need them, why would I? That's my thing. Now, getting back to the exercise stuff, you're talking cycling, Peter, but we all know Tim Noakes wrote the runner's Bible. He was a marathon runner his whole life, high carb, ripped pages out of his own book, and got taken to court because he was admitting he was wrong. So this is the problem, is we say if you're exercising and you're kicking ass and taking names, sure. But where you're at metabolically, where you're at, we have no idea unless you've done the things. And I would just, vouch for Mark, has been there on both sides. Most people have not. Most people would, they would be in the gym doing their routine that works for them. They don't want to change something. You know what I mean? They'll swear by the protein shakes. They'll swear by the carbohydrates, but they've never seen the other side. So I think that's where we get lost in a little bit. So many people say, like, I mean, if you look, Mark, for instance, like the diet towards a contest in the bodybuilding world, that's not healthy. You're getting severely calorie restricted, and you're running on fumes past the point of tired. That's not health. For the people
like when I was in peak week, like a week out from the show, my fats were nearly 80%.
Yeah.
80% of my food intake was coming from fat.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't eating any protein. I was eating very, very minimal protein. I was eating a lot of fat, a lot of it, and that's what got me through it.
Well, it's kind of funny you say that, because if you just look at what these what carbohydrates, fat is hydrocarbons. So theoretically, it would be a more stable energy, but you could do that with fat because it's energy. So eating the sugar, it's not the sugar, it's the energy. It's just using it faster. But your side, Mark, makes perfect sense in my mind.
Yeah, because like I got down to 3% body fat. Now 3% body fat is not healthy. We can all agree on that. 3% body fat. I could see veins on my abs. Yeah. That's how lean I was. But I can tell you right now, I felt amazing.
Yeah.
I felt great. I honestly, I could have these conversations with you guys on these podcasts, and that would have been a week out from the show.
Yeah.
I felt amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. But other people that were doing the show with me that equally had those abs, they were struggling.
Oh yeah.
Big time. Yeah. Big time.
There's something to be said. And I think that probably has a lot to do with nervous system, a lot to do with your vagus nerve and how your body's managing the stress, right? Like 3% body fat is not, you don't want to be walking around. It's almost impossible. You're pushing death. But being able to, your brain being able to manage and your body being able to manage that, I would argue that is a perfect sign of your ability to handle stress because you're nourished. Go figure, right?
Yes.
And carbs, I don't care what you say, do not bring nourishment ever.
No.
They bring energy, right?
Yeah.
And and your efficiency of using energy would be very subjective and very nuanced. Just quick, guys, I just wanted to say thanks for all the engagement today, guys. We really do appreciate these questions. Like always, Charles and Rick, thank you guys, and good to see you, Anthony. We'll have you on with us soon. And we do appreciate the questions and the stuff because this is the controversy that we talked about when we started this. Is we want to get into this stuff that's kind of not comfortable, right? I mean, we're challenging some things today that, most people probably would yell at me, and I welcome it because, I'll defend how I feel ferociously. And that's the thing that nobody can study, nobody can take away. I have tested my blood work, tested my ketones for years. And I would really, really, from my personal recommendation, if you're thinking about trying this thing, be very, very, very careful and learn a hell of a lot more than you think right now. Because if you're just going in there and you have no idea about energy ratio and metabolic health, and holy shit, you could be in some serious trouble. And that's the thing. I think this is going to take off. I would not say doing this every day or every week, 3 days having sugar days. That sounds like how we got here to me, right? All of us have dealt with some form of processed food, sugar, food noise, whatever. You're just feeding the fire. You're feeding your old school programming, and it's almost like, actually that ties us into this, guys, because today we had an announcement. So we're going to get into write that down, and I want to hear your guys' opinion on this one. We're going to shift gears. It's kind of a good segue. So we'll get into it.
These guys are getting richer while you're getting sicker. Write that down. 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 These foods are highly processed, complete garbage, and I can promise you now, I wouldn't even give it to my fucking dog. Write that down.
You just announced a new nominee for the U.S. Surgeon General who never finished her residency and is not a practicing physician. So can you explain why you picked her to be America's top doctor?
Because Bobby thought she was fantastic. She's she's a brilliant woman who went through Stanford, and as I understand it, she basically wanted to be an academic as opposed to a surgeon. I think she graduated first in her class at Stanford. And Bobby really thought she was great. I don't know her. I listened to the recommendation of Bobby. I met her yesterday and once before. She's a very outstanding person, a great academic, actually.
Okay, so I've been asked by over 100 people to speak on the new nominee for the US Surgeon General, so time to school. First of all, Trump said Casey Means wanted to be an academic as opposed to a surgeon. Well, from what I understand, she's not an academic. She doesn't hold any research or lecturing position at a university, and hasn't published any original research in health science since dropping out of a residency. So I'm not sure what he meant by academic here. Maybe he's referring to the fact that she does podcasts. Who knows? Secondly, to hold the position of the nation's top medical doctor, you would think it's a reasonable request to ensure that person is a practicing and qualified medical doctor. But she doesn't hold a medical license and she didn't finish her training, so that's a little bit confusing. Not to mention, I've been sent many videos of her saying objectively wrong things about nutrition and lifestyle medicine. I've done a video correcting her statement that the vitamin C content of spinach goes to 0% after 7 to 14 days in storage. She's been on other big podcasts saying that high insulin levels is the cause of PCOS, which is actually an extremely reductionist and quite predatory take, to be honest. She's also said that Alzheimer's and dementia is type 3 diabetes. So I wonder why she's framing blood sugar and insulin as the root cause of lots of different chronic diseases. Maybe it's to do with the fact that she co-founded a company called Levels, who offer continuous glucose monitors to non-diabetic individuals for a cool $184 a month. She also says doctors in the US get zero education in nutrition, which is also odd because she was part of an ENT residency which has nothing to do with nutrition or public health. So I'm not sure why she brings that up. It's the pot calling the kettle black. Oh, and let's not forget her brother, Callie Means, who said on the Dr. Phil show that the dietary guidelines recommends that a 2-year-old should be consuming 10% of their diet as added sugar. Anyone who has read the dietary guidelines knows that it repeatedly says to avoid and limit added sugars. And let's not forget their best-selling book, Good Energy, which has sold over 1 million copies and apparently has 0 scientific references. For a health book that offers a new cutting-edge understanding of the true cause of illness that until now has remained hidden, you would hope that it would...
Okay. Just before we get the comments here, I just wanted to clear something up. Anthony posted why was TRT getting demonized? I don't think it was getting demonized. We were just explaining certain context in it. I think there's a time and place for everything, and I just wanted to be specific. We've talked about this before, but I think just in this context. So Anthony, we're not demonizing anything. We're just trying to explain, that Mark and I, being in our 50s, don't need it. That's kind of what it was. So anyway, guys. What do you think about that? What do you think about what Dr. Ids? I know he's one of your favorites, Peter, but what do you think about?
Yeah, so he always tries to frame people. Basically, it just picks on people that he doesn't agree with. Actually, so I don't know the story about Casey Means and whether certain details that he mentions are true. But obviously, for example, just cherry picking a thing like this vitamin C contents in spinach, who knows? Maybe it's not totally correct. Maybe, probably he will argue that there's 10% left or whatever. So I don't care too much about that sort of things, and certainly not when it comes to framing people and suggesting that they are doing certain things to sell their stuff. Because that's always a possibility, of course, but everybody has to use his own judgment on this point. And I remember that he was critiquing Nick Norwich for writing a keto Mediterranean cookbook. And I saw a video of Nick Norwich a few days ago where he actually explained that all profits from this book, and it's just a cookbook, I mean, come on, but all the profits, he directed it to some sort of good cause, and also the co-author, I think, did the same. But anyway, it's just utter nonsense, and it distracts from the actual scientific aspects of it, of course. And Dr. Itz typically does a lot of PubMed bombing, but when you look up the articles, I remember the article on dates being beneficial to type 2 diabetics. That was the biggest nonsense ever, and if you would look it up, it was research in type 2 diabetics badly regulated on A1Cs of 7 or 8%. So he's just cherry picking on all sides to favor his own purposes.
Yeah. And Mark, I know you that video was a little bit long, and you do your details, but I'll let you get into what you were. What do you want everybody to write down, Mark?
No, I just think this news is huge. I really do. I think this is great news. I really do. I think we've been relying on these people for the last 50 years. They've let us down. They know they've let us down. And now we have people like Casey Means that are coming out that are questioning this, why things are going wrong. And these people don't like it. That's what's going on here.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I love it. I absolutely love it.
I 100% agree with you.
And it's the same with JFK Jr. when he got elected.
Yeah.
These people just do not like it because they're listening to a different side of the story.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is when people eventually catch on, they're going to lose it on money.
Yeah.
That's
well, you know, it's funny that you say that, because this is where my spidey sense tingles with who pays that guy to say that stuff, because it's so against everything. Like, if you understand what Callie and Casey Means have been doing, and RFK Jr., why the hell would you? They are not. It doesn't matter what their credentials are. They are trying to bring out and take down processed food companies being falsely, everything about them that's bad. And here's a little tip. It's funny that Charles just said, elbows up, Mark Carney. Thanks, buddy. Shout out to Canada. I'm really excited about that guy. He's ferocious. Anyway, it kind of ties into this, because I will tell you what, making America healthy again doesn't matter. They can vilify all this stuff. If you don't know Coca-Cola is bad for you, you're in a little bit of trouble. So I'm glad that they're doing this. They're exposing them for what they are. I'm glad that they're going to stop these poisons, but it's going to be there. So we all know this already. So if you want to make yourself healthy again, you need to listen, because they're going to push back. They're going to find ways to trick you. If you know your enemy, you know that this is a war that's going to be very hard to beat, hard to win. Yeah. So it's nice that the exposure's there, and I support it 100%. It's time we switch up the team, right? We get some people with some different, not your conventional doctor and scientist, food guideline expert. So I love the shakeup. Mark,
can I just ask? It's like the system has been broken now for the last 50, 100 years. How many times have you put people on medicine?
Yeah. right?
And now you have someone like Dr. Means that's coming out and saying, well, listen, hang on a second, why aren't we not talking about nutrition?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
And
that's what we
and
should be focusing on.
and it's funny how they called her out the first time. She's not a surgeon. Well, if you know what the Surgeon General is, it's a title. I mean, I would like to know how many Surgeon Generals were actually brain surgeons or heart surgeons in the past, because the Surgeon General is just kind of like the top doc. So I don't know what that means.
But the thing is, Tony, I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor.
No.
But we've helped people reverse their conditions.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
And the one question I always get when I put a video up on social media is, are you a doctor? Are you a nutritionist?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't need to be any of these people.
No.
I know what works. You don't.
And I agree with Charles. I don't think these people have let us down by accident. I mean, we can get into probably a whole episode about this, but I think it's insidious. I think it's sinister, and I think there's always a reason. And if you just, if everybody would just shut up and follow the money, it's pretty fucking clear that they don't want us healthy. It's sad. It's scary. But once you start realizing that, we're kind of on our own, and believe me, I'm glad that they're making an effort to bring these people out. But I want to see people accountable. That's when I know that the tide would be changing. These people that have been putting this stuff in people's faces in the name of health and exploiting their misery and their suffering, I want to see them. That would make me happy. I mean, until that day, I mean, we're going to get inundated by big food. They're going to fight back. There's going to be a push, and everybody's going to pick sides. It's like the stereotypical divide and conquer. So I would suggest everybody, you're going to need to use your discernment. And, if you don't know this already, you got to wake up, because they're never going to be on our side. I don't think that the machine, it doesn't matter, Trump, Carney, any of these people are going to be ultimately take responsibility for your health. So, you know what? I'm glad that red dye number 5 is going to be admitted poison. I'm glad, but don't eat red dye number 5. Okay. That's kind of what I'm saying. I don't know how you guys think about that, but anything else, boys? What's going on? Let's hit. Rick's got a question here. They want us in debt so they can milk us like cattle. Well, yeah, no doubt. And I mean, that ties into it's funny how they're hate on for beef. And it's just, you just have to look at, all the food groups that matter, the dairies and the meat, like they vilify and they're hard. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know. You guys might be able to tell me. This Dr. Ids, I don't really pay attention to him, because every time he opens his mouth, I just want to throw my phone against the wall. But what does he agree with? What does he eat? I guarantee he's probably
just a Mediterranean type of thing, but high in lentils, pulses, and that sort of stuff, nuts and seeds. Yeah, and that sort of things. And so not necessarily. I mean, not necessarily the worst diet, and it's not like standard diet. He's not promoting standard diet or anything, but obviously is on when it comes to cholesterol, he's with guys like Dr. Alo, and sugar is okay, that sort of stuff.
Okay. I am Saturated Fat Man. The Meat of the Matter podcast is live on Sundays. These boys are doing their part, so please like, subscribe, and share this message, and help those people that need to hear it. And I'm bringing the awareness, exposing the processed food gang, the seed oil crew, Harvey Kellogg, to the world. Okay, well, we had a little divine intervention there. It was like perfect timing. Batman's coming to, Batman's got his elbows up. He's coming to hell to go against the processed food.
Yeah, we need more fat mans. I think, to get the job done. But,
I think he might be going against the sugar diet here pretty soon. We'll see what he has to say about that.
That's what I was thinking, actually, and that's how far they have managed to go. That people nowadays think that eating red meat is just as unhealthy, or maybe even unhealthier than doing a thing like the sugar diet, because
Well, yeah, I mean,
with all the propaganda on red meat, that's what people sometimes think now, and yeah,
it is crazy, man. Well, boys, we're pushing an hour. I think we had a lot of good stuff today. I think. Where's Mark? I just wanted to remind everybody, these are our opinions. We're not doctors. We're not scientists. We come from a place where we've done some good, amazing things with our own health, helping people achieve, better health, feeling good. I think a lot of those things are get put aside in the name of vanity. And I think, these things, why are we doing them? Why are we eating that? I'm thinking about doing a conscious eating course, like a little 4-week course on, why are you eating that? Like, what are you putting in your mouth? I think we don't go into it enough. We rely on programming and our default and what we're taught and told. And all it takes is a little bit of awareness, a little bit of thinking. And, you can kind of navigate this stuff for yourself. We're not saying don't try anything. We're not saying, we're just trying to bring out, our, opinion about, you got to think about this before you just do. And I mean, their message, I think, is misunderstood, and it's not a good message for the people that are really, really suffering and trying to get healthy. So just reminding everybody, we're here every Sunday, live, 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. UK, Ireland, 7 p.m. in the Netherlands. Any final words, Mark, if you want to let people know where they can get a hold of you and what's up?
No, I hope you enjoyed the show, guys. And again, if you want anything brought up, or you want any guests to come on, let us know what you guys want. Because it's going to be your show. We're trying to make this show for you guys. So let us know what you want. And if you ever want to reach out to me, or if you want to watch my Instagram or TikTok, I do some good videos. You can follow me on Fitness Beyond Time 01 on both channels. Or if you want to reach out to me, you can send me an email at ennismark93@gmail.com.
Peter?
Yeah, the same, I'd say. And if you have any nice ideas for topics, or maybe there's a video of somebody that we should dive into, or maybe we could do an episode on certain aspects of the carnivore diet that you have questions about, or that sort of things, let us know.
And where can people find you?
Yeah, down here.
and we do really appreciate the comments, and please subscribe to Dutch Carnivore, and a reminder to everybody, I'm working with Victoria to try and get Mark's Carnivore Evolution podcast tied into this, so it'll be on his YouTube channel. The Carnivore Evolution podcast is on YouTube and on Spotify. And just a reminder, it's great. You guys do a great job of one-on-one interviews, and they're kind of long-form audio. But support that, guys. We really do appreciate all the support on this channel, on Peter's channel, on Mark's channels. And Net Zero Carney won't like Canadians eating beef. Yeah, they don't like me. They don't like so that's my message to everybody. Please help me out with this stupid Canadian algorithm, because I don't think I'm very well liked by the powers that be. I know I'm just a small guy, but I'm promoting health and, meat eating, which doesn't go great with our globalist net zero fearless leader. And we will see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us. We're here live. And please check out some interviews that we've done. That last one we did is on my channel. I will try and get it onto Dutch Carnivore soon. But it's one of Mark's clients. Her name was Nicole Massey. Amazing things have happened in 6 weeks. If you want to talk about sugar, I'll put the link below in the description. So thanks, boys. Always a pleasure. And we will talk very soon. And we'll see you all next week.
See you next time.